Ugh. I feel like the dad from the Christmas story. Instead of fighting a furnace, I'm fighting a hoop.
Forevermore, I like to share that vintage dream.
Hey everyone, so I've been wanting a Spiderweb Beret for quite some time now, and I actually have a few different berets, and this one was a plain black beret I've had for about 4 or 5 years, but eventually the little tab ripped off and left a hole in the middle, and so I decided instead of throwing it out, it'd be better to just upcycle it, especially because all the Spiderweb berets I have seen online have been on the pricier side or have been sold out, and I really wanted something that was my own and that had a hand embroidered look to it. Unfortunately, the hoop in the beginning, it just wouldn't stay. I think it's just the material of the beret which is too thick. It just kept popping out of place, and so I ended up just hand embroidering it without the hoop. But honestly, I think it came out perfect. I love how it came out. I think it looks adorable, and it really matches this spiderweb sweater that I wanted it to look like. And I think paired together, I think they look adorable together. And I also, even in my last tutorial, not sure if you've seen it, but if you haven't, I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description below. I DIY'd a spiderweb purse to go with a spiderweb skirt. I actually have quite a few different spiderweb clothing items, and I think if this was paired, if this beret was paired with this sweater and that skirt and that purse, it'd look adorable. So if you'd like to see how I went ahead and DIY'd this spiderweb beret, stay tuned. You'll need a black beret, some white embroidery thread, an embroidery needle, and some scissors. First, you're going to want to take some embroidery thread. I used about 3 strands. And then you're going to cut it down so it's not too long. I used about double the length of the beret. Then you're going to want to knot it at one end, leaving the other side open so you could thread the needle through. Although I'm using a hoop here, as you saw in the beginning, it just didn't stay for me. It just kept popping off, so the embroidery hoop never really worked for me. But if it works for you, feel free to use it. To start the design, what you're going to want to do is sew a cross. I divided it up into 4 different sections, starting from the middle and working my way outwards. In order to do so, I did what's called a back stitch. So you're going to want to back stitch a straight line all the way down till you get towards the end of the hoop. Be sure to leave a space in between each stitch. That's going to come in handy later when we connect all the spokes of the spider web. I did about 6 stitches in total in each section of the cross. Now once you get to this point, it's when you start to run out of room in the hoop. And what you're going to want to do is remove the hoop so you can finish stitching your line. Again, you should have about 6 stitches in total once you get to the end of the beret. One trick I use in order to try to keep a straight line is I will take the thread and I will pull it backwards towards the previous stitches to try to line it up. I find this helps to guide you in order to keep straighter stitches. After that, you're going to want to double knot it on the other side and cut the thread. After that, I readjusted the hoop so I could continue my straight line going down the middle of the beret. You're going to want to readjust the hoop to the other end of the beret and start your stitching from where you began the first stitch on the beret. which is in the middle, and you're going to continue to stitch your way all the way down to the end like you did in the first section. Be sure to leave those spaces in between each stitch, and be sure that it's about 6 stitches in this section as well, totaling up to 12 stitches. Sometimes your needle will come off the thread while you're stitching. It's alright, just rethread it and continue on. Right here I'm checking my thread and make sure it's not too tight. You want to have it kind of loose but kind of snug. If it's too tight, it's going to start pulling on the beret and it's going to cause the beret to bunch up, and that's not what you want. Again, you're just going to want to continue the stitching to the end of the beret, totaling in 12 stitches going across. So this is the point where I chose chaos and I decided to just stitch the hoop. It didn't affect the sewing of the beret at all. Honestly, it made the sewing process a lot easier to manage, especially because you didn't have the hoop popping up every couple minutes. Now you want to repeat the same steps going across. Once you're done, it will look like this. Next, you want to repeat the steps that you did earlier, except this time you're going to be dividing each cross section with a line. Now you want to repeat that line on the other side, and then repeat it again going across. When you're done, it will look something like this. You should have a total of 8 lines. Now you want to stitch a line connecting each spoke. To do so, you're going to want to start in the first set of spaces, connecting one space to another space with a stitch. Be sure to not have the stitch be too tight. You want it to be kind of on a looser side so it could have more of that spiderweb effect. Now you want to continue connecting all the spokes. At the end it should have a circular look to it. This is how it will look when you're done with the first circle. Now you want to repeat the steps again. Connecting all the spokes, it will form a second circle. You don't want to keep repeating those steps to connect all the spokes, leaving no spaces. When you're done, it should look something like this. This part's optional, but I sewed a button from an old sweater I used to have in order to cover up that hole from when that tab ripped off. I just love how the button offset the whole spiderweb. This is how it looks when it's all done. Stay tuned to see me model it. If you liked this video, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button for future uploads. Thanks for watching.